The new Chief of Staff has a long list of achievements to his name. He's an academic, an economist, and a distinguished diplomat. Now, between 1999 and 2012, Professor Gambari held various positions at the United Nations, from being president of UNICEF to becoming the UN Under-Secretary General of the World Body. He also served as the first special advisor to the former UN Secretary General Kofi Annan. He also served as Nigeria's permanent representative of Nigeria to the United Nations between 1990 and 1999. Here at home, the new Chief of Staff was the Minister of External Affairs under President Muhammadu Buhari when he was Nigeria's military head of state. However, with all the laurels and accolades adorning the career of the new Chief of Staff, not everyone applauds his new appointment, including, unsurprisingly, a former Nigerian Deputy Permanent Representative to the United Nations, whose critical comments about Professor Gambari's appointment are already trending on social media. So why did President Muhammadu Buhari appoint Professor Gambari as his new Chief of Staff? This is one of the questions we're trying to find answers to next, as we're joined in the studio by a former Director General of the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs, Professor Bola Akinterinwa. So, Prof, why do you think the President is appointing Professor Gambari as Chief of Staff? It's the second time, even though the first under this particular administration. Why at this time?
We can look at many factors.
Yeah.
Factor one, we have always been told that the devil you know is quite better than an angel that you have never related with. So, Mr. President knows him well. The second one related to this is acquaintance. As we have rightly pointed out, he was formerly his foreign minister when President Buhari was head of state. But there are two other factors. You know, Professor Ibrahim Gambari is at the epicenter of a quadrilateral wall of diplomacy. You have international affairs, which deals essentially with international questions, globalization, climate change, crises and conflicts, and so on and so forth. You also have international studies, which deal essentially with methodologies, analytical methodologies, you know. You study the international questions, international problems. You also have international relations, dealing with the relationship between states, interstates, as Joe Bentham, the English philosopher, coined the word international in the 17th century. That's the relationship. And the fourth wall is the international law, which regulates the behavior of states. The four, you know, they are complementary. At the center, at the epicenter, is where I can say Professor Gambari is located. So if he turns left, he turns right, front, backward, he can at least see himself comfortably sitting down and understanding this. So for that one, he might have been seen that, look, in terms of professional expertise, he is certainly good for that. Then the second level of the analysis is to look at his attitude. You pointed out the position of Ambassador Dr. Fafura, another, you know, cerebral diplomatist. I didn't say diplomat. I use diplomat in the sense of a Vienna Convention. People who are accredited and they are on the diplomatic list of the whole state. But for me, a diplomatist is someone who combines the state functions with academic disposition. Those people who are able to apply, you know, diplomatic conventions into empirical, you know, level of policy making. So, in this case, Ambassador Dr. Fafura, for me, the way I understood his position, has not in any way criticized, you know, Professor Gambari. My understanding of it, if you look at what Dr. Fafura is essentially saying, he talked about his quest for an academic to bring research input into policy making. That was why, for instance, he took much interest in encouraging Professor Gambari to come to the UN as part of Nigeria's delegation. And in this particular case, he was there for about 3 months. He accommodated him. But what he's quarreling with is not in the person of Ibrahim Gambari at all, from my own understanding. He complained about the fact that Professor Gambari did a secret report on him, claiming that, look, he was not attending the meeting of the Islamic states in this case. Whereas, and that is where the problem is, many academics, including me, until I went to the foreign ministry to serve as a special assistant to 2 different foreign ministers. What we normally teach in the classrooms do not always reflect the situational reality on the diplomatic ground. Now, in this case, Professor Gambari went to the UN the normal way any academic will go, in the belief that this is how it is done. You need to retrain yourself there. Professor Gambari went there and reported Ambassador Fafura that he was not attending the meetings of the Islamic organization. And this led eventually to the unexpected retirement of a very bright, of a very sagacious mind, those who really are portraying Nigeria in good stead. So, and what happened, and that's very critical, and we need to underscore that. The issue was simply that Ambassador Fafora was saying that truly, Nigeria was not yet a member of the Islamic organization. Nigeria was not until that time even attending. So, when I think the minister then understood the matter and didn't take the matter up. And the issue was that while Professor Gambari was underscoring the issue of Islamic question, and we were not yet a member. So what Ambassador Fafora is implicitly saying is that, look, Islamic fundamentalism on the one side, then Nigeria being considered as an Islamic state, we need to take a cautionary approach to it, which Professor Gambari, as chief of staff, that's what he's saying. In terms of his attitudinal disposition to Professor Gambari, I do not think he has any qualms about that.
Okay, Prof, just to ask now, looking at the antecedents of appointments in this administration, leadership style, we've heard about body language and all that. What sort of chief of staff do you think should complement the efforts of this particular administration? What should he be doing in terms of his priority?
You see, that's a very critical but beautiful question. Any chief of staff who is to help President Muhammadu Buhari must open his or her mind clearly open to the truth that is on ground. Nigeria is currently confronted with 2 or 3 major problems. You have the allegation of a possible Fulanization of Nigeria. You also have a second issue, possible Islamization of Nigeria. These are critical issues on the ground that they are talking about. And the third one is this issue of critical misunderstanding between the Fulani herdsmen and the farmers. Now, any chief of staff who really wants to help Nigeria in general and President Muhammadu Buhari, he must draw his attention to it, and being a diplomat, an international functionary for that matter, all right, he should be able now to bring his experiential knowledge of the world to let Mr. President know quite well that Nigeria is on the path, of disintegration. Gradually, they are killing Nigeria gradually as of today, and he will need to sit down and walk along that side rather than coming to sit down just like a secretary that will work on an organogram of who should see Mr. President, who should not see Mr. President. He should play an active part as a diplomatist.
Former Director General of the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs, Professor Bola Akinterinwa, thanks a lot for sharing your thoughts on the news at 10 tonight. Thank you, Prof.
Thank you for having me.